Hey Kev, you're a dude, right?
Sis scum.
Let's get into it. So Kev, I've been noticing something.
Yes.
When you kind of peruse the internets, especially the Tumblrs and things like this,
Especially the Tumblr.
you get into a lot of, I don't know what to call it, intense political correctness. And you see it with games all the time. I mean, you see it with like, anytime anyone does anything, they're cis scum or they're whatever,
Yeah.
you know, if you're not. And I feel like it's getting ridiculous, but here's my real fear that's coming in. I feel like I'm becoming old. And I don't mean like, oh, I'm 24, I'm getting old, but let's take for example this. Maybe you had a similar experience to myself. You meet like your great aunt or something like that, and she may say something that's really racist. And your family will just be like, it's okay. They don't understand.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe I'm becoming that not understanding, you know what I mean? Whereas like in like 50 or 60 years, you know, hopefully if I have children, my great grandkids will look at me and be like why is grandpa saying this? He just doesn't understand. And I don't know, that kind of freaks me out.
You know, yeah, it definitely could be moving there. It's another weird thing too, just because of like how it's manifested is so incredibly similar to a whole bunch of other fads that kind of like took over. There are like internet fads that kind of took over, like the goth stuff that was incredibly internet based.
Yeah.
Like MySpace, particularly to name a website that kind of harbored that stuff. And you kind of wonder if it's, you know, if it is like just a bunch of people trying to align themselves with this group.
Right.
And you know, not to say they don't have a real message and that they're just going through some phase. They do have a real message. It's just the strength and the numbers and how prevalent it is on the internet specifically. I think a lot of that's kind of related to people trying to find a group on the internet.
And maybe it could be, and maybe it's people taking it to the extreme because they're in that group and they feel like they represent that. But it's just, I don't know, sometimes it feels ridiculous. Like,
it's over the top sometimes.
Trigger warnings for everything. It's like, come on, I can't, you know what I mean?
You know,
like
the
that.
trigger warning thing, especially in university spaces, because this has been like super newsworthy stuff recently, is like a lot of universities kind of toning down their discussions because, you know, it might remind people of, you know, previous bad experiences. And, you know, if you're toning back discussion in an educational setting, then are you getting your full education?
And I mean, maybe I'm gonna sound like a total dick right now. Get over it. Like, I don't know. I mean,
well, there's kind
it
of,
just kind of ticks me off. I hate it.
One reason I specifically don't like trigger warnings is because the best way to get over something isn't running away from it.
Yeah.
Right? That's not going to help you get over it, because each time you remember that, it's going to be like longer since you've kind of thought of it, which means it's going to be more new to your brain. And the newer something is to your brain, the bigger impact it makes, like, in your thought processes. So if it's kind of something you're more used to, and we see this with how they treat PTSD. People, they, you know, they make them talk about it.
Yeah, you gotta talk about it.
You
have to talk about it. Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So if you're like blocking yourself off from traumatic experiences,
you're never gonna get over it.
Yeah, it's just making that traumatic experience stronger.
Like something I saw, like literally on my Facebook feed the other day, it was someone saying how disgusting it was and how terrible it was for the X-Men Apocalypse poster. It has Apocalypse holding Mystique, and he's like strangling her. And they're like, how dare they put this? This is the most misogynistic thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, how? Like, so if we're fighting for equality, Mystique is probably the most badass character in X-Men right now. Like, they're not really showing much of Wolverine.
They're purposely
I think
making
she's
her
a badass.
Like she's top.
Yeah, she's the
mutants,
most interesting character in the whole thing. I think Magneto's a little bit interesting, but that's because I think Michael Fassbender's a genius.
He's so good.
But Jennifer Lawrence, obviously very competent actor, very big actor right now, and actress or whatever. But she's doing a great job, and I think they're trying to make her the face of this at this point, and to see the big bad guy crushing that, like, that's supposed to be an impactful moment, not because she's a woman, but because she's the hero.
Yeah, she's the face of mutants to that whole universe,
and I think that's what's impactful from her. But people are taking this as like, how dare they show this? And like, I saw someone in the comments like, oh, I had a trigger warning because of this, and this is so misogynistic, and why do we live in a society like this? Like, this is what women are subjected to.
Yes.
Maybe, I feel like I don't even have a right to talk about this, like, because of the way these people react. But it's ridiculous. I don't know.
I don't know. It's crazy. A lot of it's just like, people looking too symbolically into just a whole bunch of stuff. Like, I don't know. You can take like this mouse. This is a right-handed mouse.
Yeah.
It's meant to be used in your right hand, and it's not friendly to people using it in their left hand. Not as friendly, anyways. This one isn't too bad particularly.
Yeah.
But like, you could totally like go on a huge rant and get super angry because left-handed people aren't represented well enough in the world, and you can go and do all that stuff, but like,
if you're looking for issues, you'll find them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they have a small point, and that's the fact of we shouldn't just accept things for the way that they are because they are that way. We can always strive for better. But I don't know. Some things just feel way too nitpicky. Maybe it's people that are way ahead of the time. You know what I mean? Maybe in 60 years it'll be more like, yeah, of course. But I feel like
there's a lot of noise.
There's a lot of noise.
There's important messages in there, but the important message to noise ratio is not great.
Yeah, like I've seen rants of people online where this one guy, maybe he was being sarcastic, and I'm gonna be straight up with you guys. I got this from the garbage of the internet. I watched a Leafy is Here video. I know, I'm sorry, I'm terrible, I'm the worst person in the world. I did. But what he was talking about, Leafy's whatever, but the video that he was talking about specifically, there was this guy on it who was saying that doctors who claim like a child, like claim its gender based on its genitals, is doing a terrible thing. It's like, you have to be able to identify the, like, I don't.
Yeah.
What do you want? I don't understand. Like, what are we supposed to do then? You just call it an it? Like, that's not meant to be negative towards anybody. It's just I don't know what to do. Like, I'm confused. You got me.
There's a reason these societal norms exist.
Yeah,
it just is.
But again, maybe that's us just being out of time. Maybe we don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. One thing I particularly don't feel I get is, do you remember when Emma Watson did the UN talk about like him for her?
Yeah.
She got so much hate from feminists.
Really?
Because of that. Yeah, she had a totally good message.
What was the
saying
message?
Like how we can all work together.
It's basically just equality, right?
Yeah, it's basically like gender roles are bad for men too. She was basically saying that, and then she got a lot of hate because she was actually recognizing the male side of the issue, while also saying like it's important that like we have men in on this. And I think a lot of people got angry because they wanted it to be exclusionary for men.
That's gonna get equality.
Yeah, like that. It just doesn't make sense. You don't bring equality by bringing the higher party down, or you could, but you shouldn't do it that way. You bring the lower party up.
I mean,
everyone would be happier.
And I've talked about this with my mom too, and her stance on this was like, well, men were so negative to women for a while that women get to this. It's like, yeah, but you're fighting fire with fire at this point, and I'm sorry that things were like that. Like I personally had no hand in it, but I'm sorry. Like you know what I mean? That's the only thing you can say, I guess. But I had no hand in that. Why should I be penalized for that? Like, I don't understand. I don't know. Maybe we're old fogies, Kev. Maybe we're just out of time at this point.
Maybe we're just cis white male scum.
Bye, guys. Oh, that was so awkward. I didn't know what to say. It's just like, it's one of those things.
It feels like you're like walking on a line.
Walking on eggshells, you're like, I don't want to